Aloha mai kako, mahalo nui for tuning in today. We want to welcome you all to this very special broadcast. This is the last part of Andria Tupola's Giving Hawaii Hope online event series. And so we want to welcome you and thank you for joining us today. My name is Pomai and I will be your host for the evening. We'd also like to know who's tuning in. So if you would let us know where you're tuning in from, what you've been up to during the COVID-19 pandemic. Today has been a busy day. I just got home from the North Shore, and today is actually our day to go and visit family and decorate graves, and then we stopped over at the beach, and man, the beaches are packed. You can just feel it in the air. Everyone is tired of being at home. Everybody misses people. The parking lots are full. The beaches are full. Tents everywhere. So it's nice to be out and about. And this evening we're wrapping up here with Andria Tupola. Let us know where you're tuning in. Also, throughout the evening, if you have a specific question you'd like for Andria and anyone in our panelists to answer, please use, you can see right at the bottom of your screen, the Q&A tab. Some of you have it at the bottom, some of you will have it at the top. We kindly ask that you don't use the chat box as we may not be able to answer it in sequence and get to it in time. So please use the Q&A tab, okay, if you have a question. It will be, depending on your screen, it'll either be at the top or bottom of your screen. Also, we have more exciting news. We have Andria Tupola gear. We'd like to see you supporting her. You need to order your gear. Visit the link right there on that slide, bit.ly/Tupola gear. Bit.ly. And go get your Tupola gear. Show everyone that you support her and what she's about. And we'd like to encourage you all to do that. Every purchase is also helping to support her. So we hope that you will go and buy your Andria gear. We're excited to see you all tuning in. As soon as I can see who's tuning in from where, let us know. And we also hope that after today's webinar, you may want to donate more on top of what you've already donated with your purchase of her gear. So if you are feeling like you want to donate more, we have a link here to make it easy for you to donate. It's again bit.ly/Tupola donate. Okay. We have an amazing lineup ahead, and again, this Giving Hawaii Hope vision, is we want to try and build a better Hawaii by choosing better leaders. And so we prepared an amazing panel to help us address the question on why it's so important for us to choose better leaders, and what the election process is and how we can participate in it. But first, let's see who's tuning in from where. How do I see this? Let's see. I don't see anybody. Hey, holla at me. Holla at me. Where are you at? Okay, we have one from Kauai. Welcome. I have Ohana there who live in Kapa'a. I also have Ohana in Ele'ele. Mahalo nui. Of course, we have our North Shore Ohana. That's where I just came from. I love that drive. I'll do it any day, anytime. Let's see. I'm looking for more people. Yeah. No? Oh, I see. Welcome to Kahala as well. All the way from Kahala. Welcome. Okay, let's see. I'm sure we're going to have more people tuning in as we go. So let's just carry on to the next thing. We have, oh, we also want to announce, okay, this is something that's very exciting. Thanks to Alan Aquina, who, of course, many of you know as the founder of 101 Financial, and who's also Kahuku native, started the business, and he has donated 20 of his books, wonderful reads, wonderful perspectives on helping you to manage your finances, and just to see what 101 Financial is all about. So that book is going to the first 20 people who registered for today's webinar. I think we have a slide with those names, do we? So if you were one of the first 20 to register, we will be sending you a copy of Alan Aquina's 101 Financial books. So congratulations. And these are the people. Mahalo nui for being super supportive and registering early. I see some familiar names there. Yeah, and I also see a Ke'ave. That's me, I'm a Ke'ave. Congratulations to our winners. I also want to say aloha to one of those names is Sam Kiana Aina. I haven't seen him for a while. So anyway, thank you very much for your support, for registering early, and just for supporting her efforts to put on this whole series of Giving Hawaii Hope. And we have a good last episode here ready to present to you this evening. All right. But first, I'm going to jump right into this. We have special musicians who also support the effort. We'd like to acknowledge this guy who I grew up listening to high school years. He was a part of the band Mana'o Company, and now he's doing his thing. It's so exciting to be able to see him also doing his thing with his keiki. So in this performance, he's going to be featuring his two youngest keiki, his son Dylan, who's 22, and Kamale, who is his baby 16-year-old. I have a 16-year-old, oh my gosh. But they did their first appearance in April of 2019 at their church's Easter celebration. Shortly after that, the family business, Pakele Entertainment LLC, was established, and their family band, Pakele Mele, was formed. So we'd like to feature the Pake Ohana, Kaulana, Dylan, and Kamale. Let's take it away.
Telling me just what a fool I've been. I wish that it would go and let me cry. Let me be alone again. The only girl I've ever loved is gone. Looking for a brand new start. But little did she know that when she left that day, I went and she took my heart. Rain, please tell me that it's just not fair for her to steal my heart away when she don't care. I can't love another when my heart's somewhere far away. Listen to the rhythm of the falling rain, telling me just what a fool I've been. I wish that it would go and let me cry and let me be alone again. Rain, please tell me that it's just not fair for her to steal my heart away when she don't care. I can't love another when my heart's so far away. Listen to the rhythm of the falling rain, telling me just what a fool I've been.
say mahalo everybody for attending today's event, Giving Hawaii Hope with Andria Tupola, who is also running for City Council District 1. Please make sure that you go out and vote. It's very important that we let our voice be heard in our lahui and our people. So please make sure that you do your part, get involved, and we want to leave you with this song. This song is called Aloha. Shouts out to my brother Danny Kennedy who wrote this song. So something like this.
People, now you listen to what we're about to say. You see, we're on a mission, trying to find a way. 'Cause if you and me make the guarantee to spread a little aloha around the world. I know we can work it out to make this world a better place for you and for me. K-N-O-H-A, aloha in our day. Spread a little aloha around the world. K-N-O-H-A, aloha in our day. Spread a little aloha around the world. Could you imagine all around the world just a little aloha in every boy and girl? Could you imagine how simple life would be with a little aloha in you and me? Let's spread a little bit of aloha, put a little love in your heart, take a little trip in the ocean. Oh yeah, sing it, K-L-O-H-A, aloha in our day. Spread a little aloha around the world. You will bring it down. Well, aloha means hello, and aloha means goodbye, and aloha means I love you, and I wanna take it higher. I wanna get higher with a little aloha. I can touch the sky with a little aloha, aloha. Let's spread a little bit of aloha, put a little love in your heart, take a little dip in the ocean. I am, sing along with us. K-L-O-H-A, a little aloha in our day. Spread a little aloha around the world. Here we go, you guys are. All right, this sounds good. Spread a little aloha around the world. Come on. Mahalo nui. Take care of the family. Aloha. Aloha, everybody. We'd like to.
All right. Thank you to Pakele Mele. Right on, Kolana. I guess as a parent in the music industry, it's always awesome for me to see other families getting out and the children, the keiki, who are picking up on what the parents have done their whole lives and, you know, carrying on legacies. So it's super cool to see the Pakele Ohana stepping up. Other families, you know, the Dilimas and now you see, you haven't seen him yet, but Jake performs with his son too. So that has yet to be presented. Oh, also the Kalkamis, yeah, Alex. Okay, so good job to the Pakele Ohana. Now it is time for us to give away some goodies. So we are going to be looking at our raffle prizes. Number one, let me just go through the rules really quick, and then we'll go through what we're gonna give away. The rules are for you to please wait for me to finish the question. Okay, type the number of the question. Okay, for example, in the chat box, you are going to type number one. If I say question number one, and then you're going to write your answer. If I say this is question number two, you write number two, and then you write your answer. If you don't indicate what question number, your answer will not count. So sorry, even though it's apparent that we know what question you're answering, if we don't see a number, we can't count it. And then if you win once, that's the only time you will be allowed to win. Kalamai, we need to give everybody chance, yeah? Okay. So the first right answer to pop up in the chat box will win the prize. Someone from Giving Hawaii Hope will private message you to request your mailing address. So have fun. Let's see. So we'd like to give a shout out to people who donated prizes for today. From Project Reach, we have Lularo. Oh, yeah. Yes. From Project Reach, we have a Lularo donation. From KG Services, we have gas cards to give away, which maybe we're all gonna need now, right? We haven't been going very many places over the past month or two, but now people are starting to get out. So gas cards, and also High Craving gift cards, good for their acai bowls. Yeah. Okay, so here we go. Get your fingers ready for type your question and put your answer down. Okay. All right. Now, how many of you were paying attention to the election when Andria ran just recently? Yeah, for governor. Andria for gov. Okay. She came out pretty good, and so we want to know what was her total vote count. Question number one. What was Andria's vote count in 2018? Question number one. Okay, what was Andria's vote count in 2018? 1 million. No, I don't even know if we have that many people here. Yeah, 1 million. Oh yeah, speaking of which, how many of you filled out census? You did census, yeah? Okay, so what was Andria's vote count in 2018? We are looking for the answers. Okay. So someone from Giving Hawaii Hope is going to I see a winner. Okay, thank you. Our winner is Ron Curtis. Congratulations. Yay. Okay. Question number two. The vote count was 131,719. Okay, question number two. Kalamaya crew, if I'm supposed to be reading all 5 questions and then going back, I'm going one at a time. Okay, question number 2. How much money? She's a hustler. Okay, I need somebody like her in my family. Okay. How much money did Andria raise in 2018? And you know, in my opinion, half of it is hustling, the other half of doing you, being you. So there's a lot of people who just want to donate to the cause. Yeah. When you like what you see and you want to make sure that what you see continues or is successful, you just give. And so mahalo to the people who just gave, and also to the people who gave what they could. You know, that's sometimes that's me. I get the kind, I only get dollar in my bag. But I would give $1 every day for the rest of my life. Okay, how much money did Andria raise in 2018? Do we have a winner? Let's see. I'm looking. Huh, okay. So, okay, she's saying. Are we going for exact amount? Is that listed? Is it listed? Can you Google this kind of thing or what? How much money did Andria raise in 2018? Or are we going closest without going above? Price is right action, yeah? Price is right action. The closest to the number without going over. $1. No. Okay. Let me tell you this. It's not $1 million, although we would love for it to be. It's not $1 million, but if you cut that in half, yeah. Okay, so far we have Tiare 61,000. Okay, not $1 million, but if we cut that in half, the closest. I feel like someone can get this with that clue, yeah? Or maybe they're all holding out for the prize that they want. Yeah. I don't know. In my opinion, I would love to have the gas cards. Okay. Okay. We're going to give the answer. She's telling me to give the answer. Okay. It wasn't $500,000, but it was close. It was just over $500,000. And it was $510,000. Yes, thank you. $510,000. Oh my gosh, I would love to be able to raise that kind of money. I need a, yeah, okay. Anyway, save that for later. Okay, question number 3. And I'm gonna preface this with a very interesting fact. So in Hawaii, we have, oh, maybe this is like a pre-question to the question. How many counties do we have in Hawaii? How many counties do we have in Hawaii? Go ahead, answer that first. How many counties do we have in Hawaii? Anybody? Anybody? Do we know how many counties? If you do taxes, you know this answer. Okay, good. That wasn't question number 3, Ron, but you are correct. Ken, almost. We have 4 counties. Okay, we have, and name them. Anybody can name them? If you do your taxes, you see these names all the time. If you do your taxes. We have Kauai County. We have Maui County. We have Oahu County. And we have Hawaii County. Now, if you look historically in Hawaiian history, you will see that our islands were split into 4 main parts. Yeah, so each part had a kind of like the counties. Yeah, each county or part had their own ali'i. Yeah, so that is why, and I know this only because when I sing Hawaiian Mele, okay, for instance, Kaulana Napua, Pane mai Hawai'i moku o ke ave. Okay, so we have moku o ke ave, that's Hawaii counting. Kokua na honoa o Pi'ilani, that's Maui County. Pi'ilani is the Maui ali'i. Ka ko'o mai Kaua'i o Mano. Mano Kalani Po is Kaua'i, and Paupu me ke one o Kakuhi Hewa. Kakuhi Hewa is Oahu. Okay. So, leading into question number 3. That was just for your reference, yeah. In what county did Andria get the highest percentage? What county did Andria have the highest percentage? Ready, set, go. Question number 3. What county? Okay, number 3, Kenneth says Hawai'i. Sorry, Kenneth. Aole. That leaves 3 counties left, yeah? Ron, number 3. Wait, can you win twice? Number 3, he says Oahu County. Perhaps? Perhaps? Let's see what our Giving Hawaii Hope people say. Our team says. Let's see what our team says. Anybody out there can steal Ron's question. Winner, Ron! Congrats, Ron. Thank you for playing our game. We have Oahu County is where Andria got the highest percentage. Okay. All right, let's move into question number 4. So when we are voting, we like to consider, you know, when you go to the voting polls, what is it that influences you the most? So question number 4 is, according to an after-election survey, what was the number 1 thing that influenced voters? What was the number 1 thing that influenced voters? Anybody? What do you think it is that influences our voters? Oh, and going back to question number 3, Andria gave the percentage. Her highest percentage was Oahu County, and it was 35%. Okay, Ken, what people say. What question are you answering, Ken? Question number, you have to put the number. Number 4, what people say. Okay. Are we gonna give that to him? I think we should. I think we should. I like his answer. Okay. I like his answer because the people that we know and speak to, of course, are our family and friends. Okay, so that's the answer. Number 4, according to an after-election survey, the number 1 thing that influenced voters was their friends and family. Okay, we'll tell them. They'll wanna know how important they were. Okay, question number 5. This is the last one in our raffle for this section. We'll have more raffles later. During the 2018 election, what was the number 1 issue for Hawaii voters? What was the number 1 issue? We all get issues. For Hawaii voters, what was the number 1 issue? And I've heard her address this on many occasions, yeah? She always talks about it, and that's part of the reason why she is choosing to be in these seats. Question number 5, rail, aole. Sorry, Ron. Yeah. The number 1 issue, I've heard her address this, and I totally 100% agree. I've seen too many of my family and friends go through the struggles of this, and as a result, they end up living far away. Ken, number 5, affordability. I gotta say, we're gonna go with that one. Linda, thank you for submitting your answer. Don't forget to put the question number in the next section. Ken, cost of living and housing, you are correct. Affordability is a different way of saying it. Okay, thank you all for participating. That was fun. We have more giveaways later, and we're gonna be doing more raffles. So these questions are good, yeah, just good things, fun facts to keep in your back pocket. I'd like to bring up our next musician. Her name is Melena'a Latu. Okay. Na'a was born and raised in Kahuku. Whoop whoop. One of my favorite places. Born and raised in Kahuku, she enjoys farming, dancing, and singing. She grew up with a musical family and was always surrounded by friends who have the same musical hobbies. Music is something she never planned on pursuing, but it's something she enjoys doing all the time. She writes music and performs occasionally or anytime she's given the opportunity, like today. So we'd like to welcome Na'a Latu, and we're gonna turn it over to her. You go, girl.
Aloha everyone, welcome to Andria Tupola's live event using Pakele Mele. I'm Melena'a Latu, and this is Kapono Lopes, our guitarist for today, and we'll be singing a few songs for you, and our first one is Mr. Sun by Sammy J. Hope you like it. Stop on the floor, cause I just can't stay at home anymore. It's too late for the longest time, and I wish I get some of your sunshine. Mr. Sun, where are you? I hope you have it covered, 'cause I was hoping that you'd raise me with your smile. Oh, your smile, Mr. Sun. Oh, Mr. Sun. Nowadays, life's full of possibilities that we marginalize and pleasures. It's like a call from your friend saying, how you been? Or a kiss from your boyfriend. You can hear it in the wind as it goes through the trees, like a simple message for you. And being sweet, and you know every journey starts with a simple step. So take my hand and here we go. Mr. Sun, where are you? I hope you have it covered, 'cause I was hoping that you'd grace me with your smile. Oh, Mr. Sun, where are you? I hope you have it covered, 'cause I was hoping that you'd grace me with your smile. Oh, Mr. Sun. Oh, Mr. Sun. Mr. We hope you're enjoying the live event so far. Our second song will be Isn't She Lovely by Stevie Wonder. Isn't she lovely? Isn't she wonderful? Isn't she precious? Less than wonderful. I never found the love we need. Make it one as lovely as she. Isn't she lovely? Made from love. Isn't she pretty? Truly the angel's best. Boy, I'm so happy. We have been having plans. I can't believe what God has done. Through us, He's given life to us. But isn't she lovely? Made from love. Isn't she lovely? Loving like Ballot said, like Anisha. The meaning of her name. Not a cool, have not been done. With you can see no one. It's so very lovely. Made from love.
amazing. And Kapono. I never know he could jam like that. I only play Hawaiian music with that guy. So
Now
that
you
was
know.
awesome. Yeah, now I know. That was awesome to see him doing that. So thanks to Na'a and Kapono, Kalamai, Kapono Lopes. He played music out at PCC for quite some time before he joined the Tihati Ohana. He's also one of my Manamauli Kumu. And so yeah, we appreciate Kapono as well. All right, so if you enjoyed that segment of the show, show some love by commenting below a 2. We're gonna get right into our panelists. But before we introduce them, we have a few more prizes to give away. Again, please put your answers in the chat box for our raffle questions and wait for me to finish the question before you type the number of the question and then your answer. If you don't indicate the question number, your answer doesn't count. Although I think we have a limited number of participants, so we're giving chance. Yeah, you guys lucky. You guys get to have all of this stuff that we're giving away. Someone from Giving Hawaii Hope will private message you to let you know that you won. Okay, question number 6. Let's go right into it. Question number 6. What precinct did Andria get the highest percentage? What precinct did Andria get the highest percentage? Sis, are you on right now?
Yeah.
Where are you? Okay, can you quickly describe a precinct? What is a precinct?
Yeah, I was going to jump on because some of these are not as clear for people who aren't familiar with the voting process. So the larger areas in the state of Hawaii called districts. So you might hear somebody say, I'm a representative for House District. In the districts, they have smaller neighborhood areas that they call precincts. So prior to this year, which it's the first year of all mail-in ballots, you guys were going to your precinct when you wanted to go vote. So that would be like Kahuku High School, that'd be like Lincoln Elementary, it could be Roosevelt High School. So all of those areas, they divided geographically, and that's called a precinct.
Awesome. Good. Okay, you guys noted that. Okay, answer to the question is what? Who got it? Who got it? Do we see?
Someone said Nanakuli. So
That's where you live.
Well, I live in Maili, but it is true that perhaps Nanakuli would be high because my district was Maili, Nanakuli, Honokaihale, Ko'olina, Kapolei, Eva. So when I was first a legislator, those were my little precinct areas. True story.
Sweet, but it wasn't.
Well, it wasn't the one that got the highest in, which most people would think, oh, Andrew represented the West Side, so guarantee she got the highest on the West Side. Any other guesses before we move on? Because like Pomai said, you could probably be a winner. Like
we gotta think other half, think other half.
So there are precincts, and I think I actually know where all the precincts are of the people who are tuning in. Except for Hillary. Hillary, tell me what area. Oh, Tiare Chan Boone says Kahuku.
Yay. Okay, so the answer to question number 6 is Kahuku. Congratulations, Tiare. Okay, let's move on to question number 7. Oh, this should be a quick one. Question number 7, what is Andria running for this year? I guess it's kind of a trick question if you haven't been following.
Well, and definitely we're asking for which political office. So not like distances, although I do
marathon, half marathon,
biathlon, like which one is it?
Yeah.
Oh, Ron says city council. Good job, Ron. Always up to date.
Exactly. Okay, good. Question number 8. Wait, do we want to move on? I kind of want to, oh, well, we can talk about it later. Okay, question number 8. What is vote by mail? What is vote by mail? This is kind of a hard question.
Wait, is this a trick question?
Yeah. Well, it's when you vote by mail, though.
It's when you mail in your vote, right? I'm kind of interested what the answer is, although I didn't submit this question, so I'm not totally sure.
Should we just give it? Should we just give this one?
Just give it. Just give it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What is vote by mail? So obviously it's when you mail in your vote. But if you read there, Act 136, what does SLH stand for?
I would say maybe state legislative house. I don't know. It could have been the state legislative house that passed it.
Like St. Louis High School? What? No. No.
Maybe it was St. Louis High
Okay.
School.
2019 implements that all elections be conducted by mail. The law removes using polling places where voters cast their ballots on election day, and instead a ballot is automatically mailed to registered voters. So did this pass? Because I remember seeing it go through on the news, that it would be mandated that we all have to mail in our votes and there would be no such thing as a voting poll. Did this actually
I'm going to go over that in detail in just about
Okay.
like 10 minutes. So I think
Okay.
we'll introduce our special guest panelists, and then I will answer some of those questions. So we'll move right into Pastor Elwin.
Okay, question number 9. What if I didn't receive my ballot? What if I didn't receive my ballot? Are we giving this one too? Question number 9. What if I didn't receive my ballot? These are hard questions. I think these are questions that we should have asked after you explain everything.
Yeah, we might be able to stop the we can do these questions later, or we can just give out the prizes, because I am going to give some detail on that. But let's see if anyone knows. And actually Ron says go to elections.hawaii.gov to register. Okay.
Yeah.
If you didn't receive your ballot. So what's the answer?
The answer is that ballot packets are mailed to all properly registered voters 3 weeks before the election. If you don't receive your ballot packet, you need to contact your clerk's office.
Okay, perfect. So we can stop the raffle questions, and you can go ahead and introduce our special guest.
Okay, awesome. All right, so our next panelist, special guest is a pastor, the senior pastor at Metro Christian Church. I believe actually his son is a classmate. But in 1995, while he was serving as a circuit judge for the state of Hawaii, Pastor Elwin Ahu, there he is. Pastor Elwin Ahu made his most important decision when he accepted Christ into his heart. It was a defining moment that led him to step down from his promising judicial career in order to step up to answer God's call into full-time ministry. So it is with privilege and a blessing for me that I have the opportunity to introduce Pastor Elwin Ahu.
Thank you so much, Pastor Ahu.
Hi.
Thank you for being here tonight. We are so appreciative that you joined us.
Yeah, aloha. It's really fun to watch what you're doing with this. I mean, you know, virtually through technology, it's amazing what you can do. But yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Yes. So I want to get you introduced to the people who are here today. Pomai said a little bit about your background, but I also wanted you to share just specifically, because tonight we're actually talking about choosing better leaders. So I'm going to talk a little bit about you, and then we can kind of address a little bit of the things going on in Hawaii. But you actually ran for office. Do you mind sharing with us why you did that and what office you ran for?
Oh, that's like 2014, I think it was, that long ago. It's right after the same-sex marriage bill that came out, and where so many thousands went down to the state capitol and testified against it, and yet the governor still passed it through. And so it was around that time that I thought, you know, something needs to be done. I had just come off of leukemia. If some of you might know that, you know, I had recovered from leukemia and just trying to figure out what's going on with life in general. I was still a pastor. Our church had just started, but there was so much happening within Hawaii, and I just didn't like what I was seeing. So stepped up and gave it a shot. Yeah.
And when you decided to run, what was one of the hardest things for you in that decision?
I think it's just understanding the nature of politics. You know, although I had served as a state judge, circuit judge, district court, as well as circuit court, kind of knowing what government kind of looks like on the insides. But then the political process, and let me just say this loosely, the game that you need to learn how to play, fundraising and, you know, all that stuff was a challenge. Sign waving, rallying, you know, getting people to sing and, you know, we cheer, and that was fun. We had the best time with our rallies. I mean, it was like, you look at what Trump is doing now. maybe he learned something from what we did because we had some of the best rallies ever. But getting to know what that process was all about was probably the highest hurdle for me.
What was the month that you decided to run, and how far away was that from the actual election?
Oh, that was late in the game.
Mm.
I've had people come up to me, you know, and ask me to run for, it was actually for governor. And they wanted me to shoot for the governorship. Tough decision to make. So I kind of put a pause on it. Then Duke decided to run. And so when Duke ran or threw in his hat, he had called me and I thought, okay, well, if Duke's gonna go, because we were on the bench at the same time, both judges and both with Hawaiian backgrounds. And I thought, okay, well, if Duke's gonna go, then, you know, I'll give it a shot, you know, but Hawaii's system is where you can't choose your lieutenant governor candidate. And so another person ran on the ticket in the primary. So that was a challenge, but it's kind of a good warm up. Then Duke and I got on the general election ticket. And so actually I made my decision like in February, I think it was. And I think June is the deadline. So we were really behind the ball, you know, behind in the game. So it had to be a real quick learning curve for me. Yeah.
And so so just to kind of clarify for everyone, I'm going to go back a little bit. He just said he has Hawaiian background, just like Duke, just throwing it out there. He's a Kamehameha graduate. Whoop, whoop.
Yes.
It was really awesome seeing them partner up together because I mean, I don't really know when's the last time something like that happened, especially on the Republican ticket. So it was exciting to see two Hawaiians out there, but it was also exciting because you guys both had a law background that I think the state was starting to see that there was this need to have people that understood the law better and maybe people that were outside the game so that they could kind of bring in that perspective.
Yeah, and that was good. It almost seemed like, and I don't believe in this, but it was almost like the stars were in alignment because you had an issue that was before the public, and that was the same-sex issue. And you had the people come out and they spoke their part, and yet the government went against what they wanted. And then you have two individuals who have the legal background as well as the judicial background. I don't know if people understand what that means. You know, being in the judiciary helps you to understand and to be a good judge, which Duke was. I valued my time there as well. It doesn't put you on one side or the other. It allows you to examine the issues and make the best decision for the long term. It's not just for the parties that are present in your courtroom. You're making decisions that's going to set policy for the future. And so I thought, man, we had the best team going in. And to see how, well, there was a lot of issues. Yeah, a lot of factors involved.
But it was interesting because, you know, judges aren't elected in our state. And I would say in other states, there are judges that go through the campaign mode, go through the election. So unfortunately, in the state of Hawaii, judges are not elected. And so going from sitting on the bench to jumping in and running a campaign, I mean, how was that for you? Was it night and day? Was it like, because I can hear that you're saying there are similarities to what you were doing in the ministry. How was that transition for you?
It was, you know, initially when I had some meetings with people that kind of knew what campaign was like, you know, I said, I don't know anything about campaigning. Don't have any experience doing that kind of stuff. But as we launched into the campaign, I began to realize that I do this every weekend. I have to present a message that is convincing. There's a particular issue that is at hand, you know, within my church context, and something that we need to win over. I need to build up volunteers to serve within the ministry. I need to raise funds. And so I do campaigning every weekend. And so once I caught on to that, it was like, I've been doing this my whole life, you know, and so it wasn't that hard to do. Facing the general population's view of what politics is all about and candidates who are in office. And I'm so appreciate your effort to build better leaders, because many times I think we have a misperception of what leadership is, especially when it comes to politics. I think people look more for popularity. They look for who's taller, and there are studies that show this. The taller candidate should win, although in this case, it really didn't, it didn't factor in. Charisma, whether the person's better looking, they look at all that and not true leadership. I think true leadership is what's missing in Hawaii, because we don't run campaigns and the general public has a misperception of what leadership is all about.
Well, and I'll just reiterate what Elwin said, which is, first off, a campaign is about a message. It really is. It's about how clear your message is and how well you're broadcasting it. A campaign is about how much funds you have, because you need to broadcast the message. And a campaign is also about volunteers, because you need ground soldiers to share the message. So it's always back to the message. But I think also what he's touching on here is very important for everyone to understand, is that although the message is very important, although those other two aspects of fundraising and volunteers is important, what is the general public doing? What is their responsibility? So what he's sharing is that there are a lot of people that technically don't need to do their homework, right? Because they can just go out and make a decision, which we want people to make decisions. We want them to engage in the election process. So how hard was it for you to get people to actually start to get educated about it?
Well, it's an interesting thing. In life, I think we look for leadership in all different areas, in business, in our companies, in our organizations. We want good leadership, but somehow when it comes to politics, your question kind of revealed it. What's the most influencing factor? Your friends and, relatives. I would say like your union, those who are in your company, all those things are huge factors that override the most essential part of what leadership should be all about. So it's funny, in the rest of our life, we look for the essential matters. In politics, it just changes. It's almost like a veil that comes over our eyes. Just a quick example, I had a lady in our church, a couple in our church, and I ran on the Republican ticket. And they came to my office in tears asking for a private conference. And they revealed to me that the union pays for their husband's pension. And so they have to vote Democrat. They have to sign waive for the Democratic ticket. And they said, well, because you're running Republican, that means we have to leave your church. I said, no, don't even think about that.
Wow.
That's how strong the stronghold of the union mentality has on our people. And so regardless of character, regardless of accountability, regardless of a person being authentic and having integrity, that goes out the window. The party line is what holds people. And that's unfortunate.
Because, and I'll share just with everyone here tonight that there could be a few unions that do that. So it's not all, but the few that do it, and those people who Pastor is referring to that mentally actually think that that's going to happen. Because I had people from the West Side message me on Instagram, on Facebook, like, hey, Andrea, this is real. Like, I just got threatened if I don't X, Y, Z. And not to say that that's every case, but it is something that we need to consider, seeing as though we came from, plantation mentality, which plantation mentality is that your employer would take care of you. They would give you benefits. They would make sure your family eats. They make sure you have your job. So all of that stuff, honestly, that's super important for people. They want to know that they're going to be safe, that they're going to be able to live in Hawaii, that their family's going to have food on their table. So I can totally understand where they're coming from and how they're trying to make their decisions. So in the event that that's the union pocket, what other, pockets of people did you have some of those real tough conversations with about voting and leadership?
I think family tradition plays a huge role as well. The history of Hawaii, and it's pretty young. Yeah, we're not a real old state. So it's very young. And, along the lines of union mentality, I think an Asian kind of a tradition where we will not break away from what Grandpa did. And Grandpa was part of the plantation. They were part of, the Democratic Party way back in the day. They wanted to take care of people. And they will, people today, and we've had some young ones that I've talked to, just have a misperception of what democracy is versus Democrat. And they said, we can't make a call because we have to listen to what, Grandpa believed in, and they feel that that's what democracy is. And I said, no, that's not right. And so they vote along family lines because they're going to see their family. You know, I, as a pastor, I get to speak to my people maybe 30 minutes in a church. That's all a person's going to listen to. The rest of the week, they're surrounded by friends, and mainly they're surrounded by family. Thanksgiving table, you don't talk politics, right? Around family parties, you don't talk politics because they don't want to disrupt anything in the family unit. So that's another huge area that needs
And
to
it's
be addressed.
interesting because, you know, in some of the books I read, I'm going to share a little bit from this one. It's actually called Campaign Hawaii. This one was written by a campaign volunteer that worked for Burns, Ariyoshi, Delgado. I mean, he, like almost every single gubernatorial candidate for the last 20 years. Interestingly, he said, politics is not far from anyone's occupation. So even though Pastor is saying that at the dinner table, we're encouraged not to talk about politics, unfortunately, I don't think any of us can avoid it. I mean, here we are in COVID-19 and you can't avoid it. No matter how you try to say, I'm not political, I don't want to know, you have to know because that's who's making decisions for you. That's who's deciding if your business is closed. That's who's deciding what kind of stuff you need for your medical. That's who's deciding what you can do. So I hear that this is an issue that we have and this is a generational tradition issue. But I think what we're trying to do is educate those of you who are attending and of course, those who we share this webinar with, that this mentality, this frame of thought, that we can stay far away from it. Unfortunately, one day you're not going to be able to.
Yeah, and that's the same people, same party, same issues. You know, we talk about economy, education, we talk about Hawaiian issues. You look at every debate, it's the same issue and nothing changes because we've got the same people in there, right? Same parties that run everything. And so we got to educate Hawaii. We got to educate Hawaii on what to look for. You know, the political world is no different from your business or your organizations. We got to get good leaders in there.
And when you were running for office, and I think even up till today, what were some of those bright spots? What were some of those aha moments where you got to see someone kind of turn and have the light come on? Did you have any of those opportunities, maybe even with your own family members or people within your church or within your campaign?
I remember one, there are many, but this one, I was on the island of Kauai. And one of the bright spots for me is I got to travel and I talked to everybody across the state. But this one gentleman on the island of Kauai, we were at a function and I said to him, so what would you want me to do if we won this thing? And then he said, he gave me an answer. And I said, you know what, I'll come back and we'll talk about this because I'm glad you told me what that is. And he looked at me and he says, nobody has ever said that to me before, where they took a personal interest in what I was going through. You know, people, they get lost in just the enormity of what's going on in politics. And we forget, I think politicians forget, that it's really a one-on-one thing. You know, we have to understand what a person is going through, not the political world, not my party, you know, not my agenda. What are people going through? And we've lost the people, we've lost the face of the person. And that's what good leaders do. They look for the face.
Yeah, so good. Very good. So I'm going to take actually some questions. So you guys go ahead and get ready to write. And I already see one question that popped up. So I'm going to just go ahead and throw that out there. Ron Curtis, I encountered the same response from voters on the union influence over their vote. I follow your plantation mentality discussion. How can we break that union and special interest hold over the voters? I have some thoughts, but what are your thoughts?
Oh. I think we have to understand, sometimes we say, you know, the voter, the union mentality is out there, and we almost say them versus us kind of attitude. And whenever I encounter a problem, I look at what I'm not doing first. You know, versus saying, you know, you're wrong. I look at, okay, what am I not doing? What can I do better? And I think we have to understand that there are good people in the unions. It's not an us versus them kind of an approach. We have to look for people that are within the unions because they're already in there, and see how we can work from the inside out. So it doesn't have to be us trying to break something, but there are people that are already in there. This one guy told me this. He said, I want to use the Star Wars approach. I go, what are you talking about? goes, yeah, Star Wars. You know that scene where that spaceship goes into the center of everything and then just destroy? I said, oh, okay, I get where you're coming from. So he said, I want to be in there. So he's a Democrat. And he says, I don't want to change party because I want to know what I can do inside. I can go inside and get that thing. I said, awesome. It can be done. We need more people like that.
And I would add to what Elwin shared, when you talk about thinking from their perspective and actually just going there to share the message. I do union interviews, you guys would be shocked, at least 2 to 3 times a week, especially when you're running for city council and you have 5 new council members getting elected and the rail is still an issue. Every union wants to know who's going to be voted into city council. So when I go to these union interviews, I literally know already at least 70% of the time which way they're going. And at least 70% of the time, they're not coming with me. So I asked myself the question, why am I even doing these interviews? And the answer is, I'm doing the interviews because no matter if this union endorses me, people need to hear my message. And there are people on these union boards that believe in me. They will follow me, but their union boss will not go with me. I already know the answer for that. But they and their family will come this way. I actually had one union tell me that they would openly not endorse me, but all of the people within their union actually put up all my signs and banners and they said, we don't care, we're with you. So I think that there's a reason why, and exactly what Elwin said is true, which is you don't need to change who you are. I don't want you to change who you are to come and follow me. I want you to be more of who you are. Stand where you are. I'm gonna meet you where you're at. I'm gonna share my message no matter if your boss likes my message or your boss doesn't like my message. I'm coming. And I hope you are ready to receive it and ready to take action.
Yeah, that's good.
So I would say, don't give up. Don't give up. Okay, guys, we have a couple more questions. Go ahead and use the Q&A box. Please make sure to ask those questions right there. I'm going to throw one at you. What is the most frustrating thing for you during COVID-19 watching the current leadership?
Trying to separate politics from the reality and facts. I think when you study the science and the reality of what the virus is doing and what people know versus how political decisions are being made, and there is an agenda that is below the surface almost, that gets frustrating because you want to move the economy forward. You're thinking of people, you're thinking of who they are, versus trying to destroy, an economy that was soaring. And as much as you don't like, you may not like what Trump says or his character, you got to admit the economy was booming. And then to have it shut down completely, and to see the numbers that are there and, what's coming out of it. And there's the unfortunate part about people dying and getting infected, of course, nothing to take away from that. But to completely shut everything down was getting a little bit frustrating. It just didn't match. You look at Hawaii, and of course, my interest was in the churches and trying to get people back into churches. And we had good conversations. We had a conversation with Lieutenant Governor, and he was pretty matter of fact. And even he was saying, yeah, the numbers aren't there. I would have opened this thing up a long time ago. It's like, okay, well, what are we saying then? And to see it open up now, it should have been done a long time ago. You give people the opportunity to take responsibility for themselves. So, I see a lot of pastors, they're not rushing to open. They want to be careful, but give them that opportunity, as you look at everything. You take the politics out of it and let people start making decisions on their own. But that was frustrating.
Well, and I'll add to what he said and also expound on that. One of the things that I personally felt was that there was an overreaction towards the people of Hawaii and an underreaction towards the actual virus and towards incoming visitors, which I think was more of people's concern, which I think goes exactly along with what Elwin's saying, which is you got to trust that the people of Hawaii also care, and that they also want to do what's best. So they're not going to go, and again, this is not every single person. We know there are irresponsible people. There are people who could care less. But one of the videos I saw from a Native Hawaiian who actually was reacting to General Hara, and he said, the people who are going to riot, the ones who are going to break the rules, he said, that's not us. He said, we've been breaking the rules, staying in our house. So don't make us like we're all going to riot because we don't we don't know what the next step is. He said, we've been very obedient to what's been told to us and we've been doing what's right. But he, in his video, said, what we're missing is the master plan. He said, I will be as judicious as I can in my house with my ohana, but we are still waiting for the master plan. And this was 2 days prior to when Governor Ige released the plan, which I believe was on May 18th. And it was very, I think, unfortunate to see a lot of states come out with plans in March and in April and see ours roll out in the end of May. So
yeah, especially given the statistics we had, we were like below 0, percentage in terms of the infectious rate, and death rate. We're very below everything, and yet we're taking the longest to open everything up.
When I thought that that would give plenty of time to go and convene and write a plan,
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's the next question for you. This next question is, this individual, which I think you know, Ron, he's from Kauai. He said he agrees. He says, what do you see as the best path for sharing knowledge and truth with the people? Ooh, what's the best path?
I think it's multifaceted. I think you're taking a playbook out of, you look at the LGBT movement when they first started. Education was used on all different levels, starting even with the elementary schools and preschools. So material was getting in there. And it was controlled by people that were on the school boards, people getting involved in action. We cannot complain about anything if we're not getting involved. If there are policy decision makers that are in office, because those of us who want to see the opposite effect, where we're sitting back and not doing anything, either we're not voting or we're not stepping up to run for office or to support those who share our views to run for office, then you can't complain, because education happens in all different levels. The school board happens in PTA area. It happens in churches. It happens in many different platforms. Unions. We just talked about unions. If you're a conservative person, you have conservative values, but you're not involved in your union decision making, you can't blame anybody. Non-voting is a vote. You're voting for the other platform. So I think, yeah.
No, that was a good answer. So I'll summarize. He said education and also getting involved in decision-making processes. I mean, again, we live in a democracy, which allows us to engage, allows us to participate. So by all means, participate. Here's the last question for you. Individual responsibility is key, but the people need the knowledge that they've been deprived of to fully express their individual responsibility and accountability. I'm gonna ask you a tough question. So this is kind of from Ron. He didn't have a question there, but I think there's something in that. Here's a tough question. How true do you think it is as far as this upcoming generation and how much either knowledge that they have access to or knowledge that they're seeking after? Is this next generation better prepared, or are they preparing? Because it's their turn to lead, right? So exactly what you said earlier, which is same people in office, same things going on. So what is your perception of this? Are they taking that personal responsibility? What are your thoughts?
I think the generation that we have today, the millennials and then the Generation Z, are going to be the most informed generation ever. They have access to so many different sources of information. The problem is the source of the information. How much do you trust in that source of information? The internet, just social media. I mean, it's almost every year or two, there's a new way of expressing yourself on social media. And it's almost like whatever someone says on social media becomes legitimate. It becomes something that, oh, it must be true. And so they have a ton of information, but how much of it are they checking out the actual source? And in today's world, you can find information, and you need to take the time to really study it and compare it to, does it really make sense? What's being said. And I don't think we take that time. We're in such a fast moving world that if we see something, oh, that must be true. I don't need to check out. I don't need to do a fact check on it. You know, I'll read it because, you know, BuzzFeed said it, or it must be true. Because Politico said it, it must be true. And there's so many different sources. Take some time. For me, on a spiritual side, I want to lay everything before the Lord. You know, so does this align with the Word of God? Does it align with the principles of truth? You know, the Bible won't tell you every single thing, but it'll give you specific principles of truth that you can overlay what you're hearing upon and see what comes out. In today's generation, we don't have that. We're moving too fast. Things are moving so fast that we don't check anything. And so everybody's doing their own thing. And that's the dangerous part.
Interesting that you would say that it is the most informed generation, because I would agree with you. The access to knowledge is right at your fingertips. You can get this, but who's helping them sort through these questions? Who is helping this next generation, or even ourselves? Who is helping you to critically think through it? There's a lot that I post on my social media channels that people really, you know, sometimes they get offended because I post up stuff because I want people to start thinking. And people are always like, Andrea, I want to know what you think. Oh no, I want to know what we think, because I need you to start to use your own critical thinking skills. I need you to determine what this is and not go to my page and think that I'm just going to feed you everything that you need to know, because we need to believe in what we follow. And I don't want people to blindly follow me. I want them to be convinced that they went and fact checked and that they know that they're in the right path, because I want people that are loyal to this cause and understand what I believe so that we're going in the same direction.
Yeah, and I want people to understand that they gotta be able to think. Stop and think. Because a lot of these decisions are common sense, but common sense ain't too common nowadays. Here's a generation that I believe has so much to offer, but yet it is the most forgotten generation. And I say this not because I'm biased towards a generation that I'm moving into, but it's the kupunas. The kupunas have so much wisdom because of what they've lived through, because of what they've experienced, but we throw them away. We put them in a nursing home and we say, you know, okay, you lived your years, let me take over because I'm younger, I have more to offer, I have so many more years. The kupunas are the ones that can help stabilize a lot of this stuff, because information is information, but wisdom will cut through that. And kupunas have wisdom. They may not have information that's on the internet. They might even know how to use the internet, but they have wisdom. And if we would only sit and say, Auntie, can you help me think this through? Give me your mana'o. Give me what's going on. What do you think? I think that would help tremendously to pass it on to the ages and generations. But kupunas, well, we got to value them, you know? I say to our kupunas in our church, I say, you're valuable, you're so valuable. I'm looking for ways that we can have intergenerational mixes. And so it's not the kupunas, you know, do their own thing and then the young adults do their own thing. No, we gotta have this cross-pollination of people that have gone through, whether it's marriage or finances or relationships or education or just common sense, you know? And if the auntie says, knock it off, because she knows something you don't know. But I think that's something that's so overlooked in today's world.
And it's so true, because I feel like the cost of living in Hawaii divides families. So I used to go door to door when I ran for governor, and I would find kupuna that live alone because their children live in Vegas, their grandchildren live in California. So this intergenerational learning that's very important for locals and of course for the Native Hawaiian people, this is no more because you cannot afford to live as an intergenerational family. There's going to be people in your family in the hierarchy missing because they had to move, they had to leave. And yet this is the knowledge that's going to help us, hold on guys, not repeat our mistakes, because if you don't know your history, you're bound to repeat it. Yep. And I think that we're stuck in a cycle because we do have families that are broken up everywhere. And every year, I would say even with COVID, it's actually increasing the amount of people wanting to leave Hawaii instead of stay here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I'm gonna wrap up. So Pastor, you wanna share any last words with us? Thank you so much for your time, dropping wisdom as always.
Yeah, no, my heart is here, you know, born and raised here, spent time on the mainland, so I know what it's like on the mainland. But my heart is here. And whatever way that you can help, and because people ask me, you're going to run again? Look for the lane that you can be most effective and run it. Whatever that is for you, whether it's candidacy, whether it's supporting financially, whether it's whatever that is, look for the lane that you can run your race in, then run it and run hard.
So good. Thank you so much, Pastor. Have a good night. Thanks for joining us
Yeah,
tonight.
thanks so much, Kay. God bless you. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye. So we want to thank everyone for, and I'm going to actually go over some of the voting process for this year. So did you guys like that? Because if you did, type a number 1 in the chat box. Type 11111. If you love that, please type the number 1, because I definitely am looking towards my elders, because that's the reason why I call it Pastor Elwin. To be honest, even when I was running for governor, I would meet with him regularly. And not because he's been a governor, not because he won his race. I meet with him because I just want to know, what would my elders say to me if I was doing X? What would my dad say to me? And as many of you know, actually, Elwin and Duke sat on the bench with my father, who's still a family court judge, which he doesn't get involved in my race. He doesn't help me with campaigning because he's still working for the state of Hawaii. But it would often be my go-to to actually call up some of these men or women that had previously been leaders in the state of Hawaii and ask them for their insight, because who else is supposed to give it to me? I used to think about this all the time when I was running for governor. Who's supposed to mentor the girl who's running for governor? Like, I would look all over Hawaii, like, who's supposed to teach me? You know, when you want to learn piano, where do you go? You go to the piano teacher, right? You want to learn how to scuba dive, where do you go? Oh, you go to the scuba instructor. You want to learn how to draw, where do you go? Oh, you go to an artist. I'm telling you right now, when you want to run for governor of the state of Hawaii, not too much people. And on top of it, there's going to be a lot of differing opinions, because people have run in different decades. They've run in different time periods, and the state of Hawaii has changed so much over time that sometimes that information that came to me, I had to sort it out and determine what I was going to do with that information. So I'm going to have Ryan put up the screen, and we're going to share the next slide. So this next part is actually definitely about this year's election process. So I want you to go to the Q&A box, go ahead and type in those questions if you have them, because this part is going to fly by and it might be a little difficult. The first part that I'm going to talk about is the act that just came up. So as of 2020, we are actually having all mail-in ballots for the state of Hawaii. So what is Act 136? And when did Hawaii change to this all mail-in ballots? Interestingly, there are many people who just heard about it during COVID, and there are states that started to pursue all mail-in ballots during the COVID time. But I can tell you that the state of Hawaii actually did this last year. So 2019 was when Act 136 was passed. And I'm going to tell you some of the intricate parts of this act, because it is all mail-in ballots, but there are some provisions where you can still drop off your ballot. There are some provisions where you can still register day up. So next slide is going to show you exactly the part. When do I get a ballot? Okay, I know this was one of the previous questions in the giveaway prizes, but I'm gonna get specific with you. If you register by July 9th, you will get the ballot in the mail. If you don't register by July 9th, guess what? You can still register. You're gonna go to what they call a service center, and you're gonna be able to register 10 days before the election, or even on the day of the election. So I actually think that the system that the state of Hawaii adopted is almost like a hybrid, because they are going to be mailing all the ballots, but they're also going to have some walk-in options for you. So if you're registered by July 9th, then your ballot will come 18 days prior, which is around July 20th and 21st. And I am talking specifically about the primary election, because that election is the one that's coming up as soon as August, and then there's the general election in November. Next one. So after you get that ballot, can you drop it off? Yes, you can. Can you mail it in? Yes, you can. If you didn't register, can you still register? Yes, you can. You go to the Voter Service Center. The Voter Service Center is where you can go in day of, same day registration, or you can actually drop off your ballot. Next slide. So when you drop off your ballot, where do you go? Oh, you can go from July 27th through August 7th from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And you can actually walk in, drop off your ballot if you want, or you can register. You can possibly ask questions because it's a voter service center. And then on the day of the primary is August 8th, and that's going to be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. That's what a voter service center is, and it's part of Act 136. Next slide. So where are these going to be? Oh, sorry. What are the places of deposit? So you have your voter service centers, which actually on the island of Oahu, our voter service centers is Kapolei Hale and Honolulu Hale. Those are our two voter service centers. And then on the island of Kauai, it's going to be at the Pi'ikoi building. On the island of Maui, you're going to have Lanai Police Station, Mitchell Paole, which is in Molokai, and Velma McWayne Santos, which is in Maui. And then on Hawaii Island, you're going to have one in Kona, and that one is at the County of Hawaii Aupuni Center. And you're going to have one in Hilo, which is switch that around. The one in Kona is West Hawaii Civic, and the one in Hilo is the County of Hawaii Aupuni Center. So those are the voter service centers. So what is a place of deposit? Guess what? They're going to let you deposit the ballot in even more locations than the voter service center. Hold up. So at the drop, you can actually drop it off. And this is the packet, which means that it's going to have your ballot, and you can drop it off at the following locations. So you can go to the next slide. On Kauai, there's 4 places that you can deposit. So you're going to have Hanalei Fire Station, Hanapepe, Kalaheo, and Kapa'a. So those are your 4 drop locations, not voter service centers. On the island of Maui, you're going to have Aloha Aina Center, you're going to have Haiku Community Center, Hana Fire Station, Kahului Fire Station. And this is going to be drop locations, not the voter service center. On the island of Maui, you're going to have Kalana, you're going to have Kihei, Kula, Lahaina, Makauau, Napali, Paia, and Wailea. And on the island of Hawaii, you're going to have Na'alehu, Pahoa, Rodney Yano Hall, and Waimea Police Station. So you're going to have 4 on Hawaii Island. So those are the places of deposit. Next slide. The places of deposit will not have somebody answering your questions, and they will not have somebody that's going to help you register to vote. You got to go to the where? Oh yeah, the voter service center. Okay, does the new process disadvantage people? Well, you can look it up online. There's lots of articles, and there are many that say it can benefit a particular party. I'm not going to say which party because some studies said it's going to advantage Republicans. Some studies said it's going to advantage Democrats. Some studies said it's not going to have any type of weight on either party. Now, there's a lot of reasons why you would have both of those answers, because some states have been doing mail-in ballot for a very long time. So in the event that they've already been doing it and there's already like a set procedure, then it probably will not disadvantage either party. But in the event that there's a new procedure, then it will probably disadvantage the party that's in power. So you can look that up. Again, these are studies, you can read them. They said it could disadvantage certain types of voters. I've read a lot of studies that said new voters, young voters, low-income voters are actually ones that are going to have the most problems with their ballot. Why? Because when you're a new voter and you check off something that's incorrect, guess what? You mail that ballot in, then I can call you and say, oh, hey, you forgot to do line 4, box 2. Yeah, we're going to mail them back. No, that's not going to happen. So what's going to happen is your ballot's going to be no more. So certain types of voters will be disadvantaged because it's a new process. So you can definitely get help by going to the Office of Elections and looking up what's going to be on the ballot. It's going to disadvantage certain population areas. Let me tell you that for rural areas, it actually is going to be a longer process. Why? Because their mail goes into a central location and then it goes into the Office of Elections. There's at least 1.7% every year that mail in their ballots and it's too late. So they missed the deadline and their vote doesn't count. Not because they didn't fill out the form correctly, but because they mailed it in past the deadline. Okay, according to this article, supposedly well-funded campaigns are gonna make it through this. Next slide. So this one is about who was sued, and it actually happened today. It's super crazy. Like today, May 25th, the RNC sued Governor Newsom. If you don't know him, he's the governor of California, because they decided to move California to all mail-in ballots this year, which is like almost election time. anyways, I don't know anything about the lawsuit, just letting you know that there is definitely some to do about this whole mail-in situation in the year of 2020. Next. So the question that I have for you is, how many states already do mail-in ballots? Because I've heard a lot of people in Hawaii say, you know what, this is super corrupt. We're gonna just have the same people in office because this mail-in stuff is just, I don't know if you saw, they send you a paper and you sign it, and then they use that signature to compare that signature to the one you're gonna get on your ballot. People are like, wait, anybody could sign that. Oh my gosh, you're right. People are also concerned that their ballot came and the person who lives there doesn't live there anymore. So are there going to be issues? Definitely. So there are 33 states and the District of Columbia that already have some form of mail-in or early voting available to voters. So the next question that I have for you is, next slide. If you look at this, you can see that there's only a few that are in person only. Check it out, check it out. So we have Tennessee, Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas. I'm sure you're looking at like, oh, I wonder what those states have in common. Yes, those are the ones that you can only do in person, no mail-in. And then all of the blue ones are like a mix. And then of course the green ones are only mail-in. Next. And you can see that ours is blue because it's kind of still a mix, to be honest. How many states do all mail-in ballots? Oregon, Washington, Colorado, and actually Utah is starting this year. But their system is not going to be like ours. I think it's actually going to be very strict. Ours is not as strict because we're allowing the deposit. We're allowing the voter centers, which most states don't have that. You just straight get it in the mail it back in the mail, that's it. So I think ours is more like a hybrid and trying to get our state to the point where Oregon, Washington, and Colorado are, because those 3 states have been running all mail-in for a very long time. Next one. All right, so we have come to the end of that. I'm going to take some questions. I know you're like, holy smokes, Andrew talks so fast. Good thing I had a little slideshow presentation, so you can look at that or you can screenshot it. There's also early walk-in voting starting 14 days before the election dates through the election dates at the clerk's office. Yeah, so the early voting is still going to be allowed again at the voting service centers. So not at the deposits, but at the voting service centers. It's going to be less than what you're used to. So less than what you're used to means that it's not going to be every elementary school, like how we had it before, where in your neighborhood you would be able to go. But I do have, you know, good news for Oahu, that you guys actually are going to have some good options, because there's one that's going to be available at police stations, and of course they're using fire stations and community centers. So you can look that up on the website. So for Oahu, you guys have Hawaii Kai Park and Ride, that's a place of deposit, Kaneohe District Park, Kahuku District Park, Mililani Park and Ride, Neil Blaisdell Park, and Waianae District Park. So those are going to be the areas that you can deposit, not the areas that you can get help in, but that you can actually drop off your ballot in the event that you don't want to mail it back. You're still going to have the option to mail it back. Okay, do you guys have any questions? You can go ahead and write it in the box if you have any questions. I honestly tried to get somebody from Oregon to jump on because Oregon has been doing this for the longest time. And I have a good friend that ran for governor in the state of Oregon, and his campaign chair, she's been in contact with me. But interestingly, I asked them questions about how the all mail-in process went. When Oregon first switched over to all mail-in, they spent lots of money, wait for it, educating the people about what the mail-in process was going to be. So I don't know if you guys feel like our state has done a lot of marketing and education materials about this, but I kind of like think maybe it could have been better. So I think that was probably why Oregon had a really positive turnaround as far as people liking and enjoying the mail-in process, because they, honestly, it was commercials, it was radio ads, it was mailers. So I think the state of Hawaii did one mailer, you guys probably got it. Then they did the second mailer, which had the signed card. And then, I'm not sure, I don't have cable, but maybe they did some commercials. Okay, here's Ron Curtis. Any comments on the signature cards sent out to the registered voters? So I asked this question to my friends in Oregon because I was super concerned that this whole, you sign it, and then when you mail in your ballot, somebody like compares the signature. But according to the lady at the Office of Elections in Oregon, she was saying that they actually verify in 10 different spots on the signature that it's exactly the same. And I asked her, how do you do that? She said, oh, we have a actual thing that we run the card through, and if in the 10 spots the signature has changed, then we invalidate the vote. I was like, holy smoke. She said, yeah, we have all, and I'm sharing that because Oregon did it. I'm not sharing it because Hawaii has this machine, because I don't know if they have that machine. I'm sharing it because they took it to the point where on the signature cards, people couldn't actually fraudulently sign for someone, because you would have to have too much of the same exact signature to try to, I guess, cheat on the ballot. But there has been issues. So if you look it up, there has been states where people were known to actually fill in a whole bunch of blank ballots and just send it in without getting signatures and getting their votes counted. So there was 2 specific lawsuits in other states about fraudulent all mail-in ballot situations. So it's not to say that this is completely safe, but I think a lot of you guys, especially if you're from Waianae, you know that even in the 2018 election, we ran out of ballots, and that was like a walk-in situation. We ran out of cards for people to register, even though people were told that they could register on the day of. So there's going to be problems either way, but I would say be very vigilant. Be very vigilant in the event that you see something happening, report it, or that you have a friend that may be misinformed on how to do it. Educate them, show them the website. Okay, any other questions? I'm gonna have Pomai come back on. You guys can still ask questions. If you feel like maybe there was a question and you weren't sure, but now you're sure, then go ahead and ask that. And I will try to answer it during my section. And I'm just gonna have Pomai take over for a little bit, and then I will close it up. Sis, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear
Okay.
you now.
Okay, great. Kalamai, I was just saying, I've learned so much in today's webinar, so I'm grateful that you brought Pastor Elwin Ahu on. So much insight to share, and I think it's important. I really love what you said about acknowledging and listening to our elders. You know, like I'm now in that middle generation where I still feel like I can be mentored, but at the same time, I feel like I have so much to share with our youth. And so that's what I do, as my job is really work with our youth and empower them and help them to feel like they are able to participate, especially in this process. We were a part of an event that would have been something that would, like this webinar, teach people how to vote. And there originally was no section in it for youth involvement until I said something. I said, you know, part of the problem that I notice is that we don't encourage or we don't involve them as much as we should. And I think that if we start them earlier, not just their junior, senior year in high school, but if we start them earlier, and I know that some teachers do it in their elementary schools where they do practice ballots and they look at who's running and they, you know, do like a class voting. That's fun and that's cute and everything. But I feel like as they get older in middle school and then in high school, if they can actually have a part in the voting process, and I think we've seen that where they have ballots that they can actually fill out, and there is a youth poll, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there is a youth poll that actually gets reported on the news. And so if there are other ways that we can involve them, we're always looking for avenues that we can involve our youth to get them in the habit of participating in the voting process. Yeah. So then we're not having to deal with them as adults and pulling them into this process. So mahalo for sharing your ike on listening to our elders and plantation mentality. Yep, so true, especially in Hawaii. I know I'm part of that. If my grandma believes something, I believe strongly in it. This is my grandma too, by the way. This is my grandma, this is my grandpa. So speaking of elders, here are my kupuna. Okay, We hope you enjoyed the panelists and of course our lovely host Andria. I think if you agree that Hawaii needs new leaders, don't forget to donate by visiting bit.ly/tupola donate. We would love to see you jump on board with us. And also, if you haven't ordered your gear yet, go on to the following website, bit.ly/tupola gear, and choose from tons of items. We got phone cases, stickers, shirts, hoodies, sweatpants, and so much more. I personally need to get on there and get I'm interested in a hoodie. I'm gonna get a hoodie. So the next time I come on one of these, when she starts them back up again after this small break, that I will be wearing my Tupola gear. And thank you for doing that. A nice little gesture, and every purchase, of course, helps to increase her chances and just the resources that she's trying to pull from to make this campaign worthwhile for all of us, the ones who are supporting her, the ones who are going to vote for her, and as we go out, we are hoping that all of you will continue to listen to what she has to say. She is always on it with responses. She has called herself the social media ninja, and she carries that title very well. I know, Andria, anything that's said, I can't even keep up with half the comments that show up, but she is on every comment and she will respond. That is a guarantee. That's the kind of leaders that I'm interested in, people who are going to take the time to value my opinion, my concerns, and to take the time to respond to me, even if others feel like it was a nonsense, shout out or question. So mahalo, Andria, for having us here. Also, after we finish this live, there will be a survey that's going to pop up right after the webinar is over. We're kindly asking that you take some time to fill it out and claim your $15 pizza gift card. Yay! We're all ordering takeout pizza right now. Although now I think we're getting out more. So we have one more musical presentation again from Miss Melena'a Latu, or Latu Kalamai, Melena'a Latu. And so before we go to her, I just want to say mahalo to all of you for allowing me to host today's special event, the last of its the series. And Andria, is she coming back on before the music or after? Where are you at, Andria?
I'll be coming on now.
Okay, let's bring you on now.
Wait, so before she goes, I'm just gonna ask some fun questions since I've known Mandy, Pomai, Keawe Laman for a long time. Question to you. This is like, I'm gonna put you on the spot, sister, but I think you can handle it. Were you politically engaged before I started doing stuff?
Oh yeah, yes, I was. I looked forward to voting. I was always a registered voter, even while we were at school at BYU, Provo, Utah. I did have my my ballot that I mailed in, and so from school. And I always look forward to that. I never did register with a certain party, but I did pay attention to the ideals of all the parties. And I will be honest that I didn't always do my research on every candidate. It is so hard to research every single candidate on the ballot. And the only comparison that I have is when we are a voting member for the Hawaii Academy of Recording Arts. Every year they release this, from January, February, they release this long list of artists who have released albums and songs throughout the year prior. And we are expected to look through this whole list and narrow it down, to just a few. And then the final ballot comes out, and then we select who Hawaii's next female vocalist is, or the male vocalist, and it's so hard because you find yourself that even in those situations, you find yourself always voting for familiarity over ideals. And if you're not familiar with a person, or you have some kind of connection or personal relation, maybe you've had some interaction with them, and it's not always that they have to be your good friend from childhood days, you know, sometimes it's just that you had one small interaction with them that you just never forgot. So I appreciate candidates like yourself who takes the time to really get out into the community and meet people and have genuine talk story sessions, you know. I know time is valuable, and I know your responsibilities as a mother of two beautiful daughters and a wife. I know your responsibilities ecclesiastically, you know, like, and I always have marveled at how you're able to even consider doing something like this, where you're already catering to, you know, the needs of your own family and your own household, and then you reach further to the community, but then you reach further to the whole state of Hawaii, and on top of that, you're social media ninja. That's like huge, you know. Social media is the way in which we are communicating these days. And so whether you are, you know, old, young, my grandpa's on social media, and so it doesn't matter who it is, like you're connecting with both. I love seeing the mayor doing his little TikTok bit, you know. Communication nowadays is through these avenues. And so when we have political leaders who are willing to bend with the times and to be able to connect to people, I'm going on a little bit longer, but I'm gonna use this quick example. The composer of the song that brings us all together, Hawai'i Aloha, at the end of it's sung at the end of any large gathering that we have here in Hawaii, where we stand. The song that makes us all stand and hold hands is Hawai'i Aloha. E Hawaii e kuone hanawe. So the composer of that mele is actually the Reverend Lorenzo Lyons. And he came from across the ocean and the continent in Boston over to Hawaii to serve our people in Waimea. And he, you know, he didn't impose his ideals on anyone, but he found ways to communicate with the people, and it was through that he was able to connect with them, and they respected him to a point where they called him Makua Laiana, which is Father Laiana. And he established that church in Waimea. And so, you know, as a leader, if you are finding ways to communicate with the people at their level. Makua Laiana learned the Hawaiian language. He didn't expect them to know English. He learned their language, their method of communication. And then through that, he was able to share his own message and to gain the respect of the people, which is important. So mahalo nui for being an example of a good leader in Hawaii. And I'm looking forward to watching your journey as you continue to go through and be Hama.
Thank you so much, Pomai. So I'm just gonna wrap up with my final message to those people who are in this particular Giving Hawaii Hope. And I'm super excited that you guys decided to come. It is actually a holiday. It's Memorial Day. And so I know there's a lot of different places you could be besides here. You could be relaxing with your family. You could be barbecuing, but you decided to come. And originally when we had created this series, this was going to be the last wrap up of the entire series. And I wanted it to be about how to choose better. As we went through our presentation today, I already touched on my very first point that I'm going to share right now, which is if you don't know your past, then you're bound to repeat it. And I'm sharing that because even though I ran for governor in 2018, did I know enough about my own past? Did I know enough about the past of Hawaii? I don't know. You know, I look back on it and I think I was tenacious. I was super enthusiastic. I knew that I had a level of capability that was much larger than than the average person. And so I thought, get out there, do it now. And guess what? We call that campaign, Our Time Is Now. And I literally felt it inside my heart that I needed to get up and do it right now. And there's a difference between somebody feeling urgency because it's the right thing to do and being impatient. And trust me, there was plenty of pastors who told me that I was being impatient. There are plenty of people that mentored me and said, hey, Andrea, you're being really impatient. You've only been a legislator for 4 years. What in the world do you think you're doing running for the highest office in the state? And I knew inside of me that if I ever wanted to be governor of Hawaii, or if I was ever meant to do that, that I needed to step up right now and do it right now. I needed to learn those lessons. I need to get out there and learn what it really meant to serve and lead the people of Hawaii. So I had told you guys that I was reading this book, and I'm sharing this with you tonight because as I looked back on this book and this individual who definitely was helping Democratic candidates who were running for governor, he helped Governor Burns, Governor Ariyoshi. He helped in Cayetano's campaign. He actually jumped on a few mayoral campaigns. He helped Jeremy Harris. I don't know if any of these names ring a bell for you, but he was in all of those campaigns. And guess what? I've never read this book. It came out in 2016. So I started to read it after the election, and I realized, and I started to think, where was I when all of this happened? Because part of me becoming the leader that I need to be is understanding where I was in my journey, and did I even know what was going on? So I'm going to take you back to what Pomai just shared, which is me and her went to BYU Provo together. When I graduated from Kamehameha, which I was a song contest leader, yes, I love music and choir, I decided to go to Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah, and major in, hold up, music, not politics. And I got a degree in music education. So here I am, Little Miss Singer, and I gotta give props to Pomai because honestly, the fact that she said she registered in college and voted, whoa, I definitely didn't do that. So after I finished college, or about a year before I was done, I went to Venezuela. I served a mission for my church, and I learned more about what different philosophies of government there were. And I learned specifically about what socialism was. Because in Venezuela, they practiced socialism. The president was Hugo Chavez. And a lot of what they gave out was free education, free medical, free housing. And who wouldn't want all that free stuff? But guess what? It came at a price, which was that they weren't really motivated to work. They definitely had other people making decisions for them. And then when the president changed, it was very hard for the country itself to be empowered, to stand up and take a hold of their future, because they had been for years, even decades, been following someone that was just doing everything for them. So I came home in 2004. I don't know if you guys remember this, but Mufi Hanneman was sworn in as mayor in 2005. I know, like blast from the past. And I was reading this book because the guy who wrote this book actually shared about what happened in Mufi's journey. So my dad comes to pick me up from, or he flew with me to Utah, and he said, Andrea, just so you know, Uncle Mufi asked me to swear him in as mayor. And I was like, so why didn't you go do it? He's like, nah. I told him that I had to go take care of you, so I flew to Utah. I was like, you didn't want to swear him in? He was like, well, we have family stuff, not a big deal. He's like, another judge can do it. I was like, all right. Okay, I'm sharing this little tidbit with you because I didn't even know what was going on. Like, I knew Mufi was running. I didn't even know what he was running for, but he was the first Samoan mayor of the city and county of Honolulu. It was a big deal. It was a big deal for Samoans. It was a big deal for the people. So I'm sharing this with you because as I read this book, I realized how much of these people's journeys was interwoven in my own journey. Did you know that when I ran for office in 2014, that the University of Hawaii actually told me that I was going to have to resign from my job as a professor so that I could run for office? They put me on leave without pay. This was in the summer of 2014, and guess who I called? Guess who I called for help? I called Jeremy Harris. Okay, I don't know if you guys know this, but Jeremy Harris is from Kauai, and he actually went through the same issue because he was a lecturer at the University of Hawaii when he ran for mayor. So all of these things that are interwoven, I realized that this path, this journey, this historical history of those people who have come before me and where I am is so thick. It is so full of insight. And there are so many lessons that I have to learn. And I realized that even though I feel like I've learned a lot of lessons, guess what? I have many more lessons to learn, probably more than I can even count. I have so many lessons to learn. And it's amazing to think that that really is going to be a part of our path moving forward. It's not just me knowing the history of Hawaii. I'm encouraging you to know it, because I basically am just getting to know it as a legislator, as a person running for city council, just wrapping my head around it and starting to understand, what does this really mean? What does it mean that you're in this webinar right now supporting Andria Tupola for city council? Why is she even running for city council? When I was starting this year off, my mindset was like, here we go. Governor 2022, here we come. And I was set on it. I was like, if I get distracted, I'm not gonna make it. If I stop working, we're not gonna get there. I mean, in my heart, I was like, I gotta give this my all. Like, if I jump in again, we gotta jump in, we gotta win this. And then what happened? I got approached by Kimberly Pine, who's running for mayor, and she says, will you consider running for my city council seat? So in my head, I thought, oh my gosh, what is this? And then I prayed about it. I talked to my husband about it, and we both got really good feeling that this is the right path. And it was amazing to me because guess what? I would have never done it. So if it was up to me, I would have never done it, because I would have thought that the right path, as all of us know, from one point to the next point is a what? A straight line. So I was like, I'm not going in the straight line. What's going on? But ever since January till now, which we're on May 25th right now, guess how many lessons I've learned? I've learned how to interact with unions, which I did not do when I ran for governor. I actually got endorsed by a few unions because, just like Pastor Elwin said, there are people within the unions that are ready for this message. And some of these people who didn't give me the time of day when I ran for governor, guess what? They're giving me their cell phone numbers. They're open to speaking with me because city council matters are important to them. And I would have never known this. And it's one of those things that all of us know is true. It's that God prepares you for things you don't even know you're gonna do. And so I had to just be ready to take this and be ready to step on this path, because I have lessons to learn. And I'm learning them right here with you live. And it's one of my favorite things to do, which is to not be ashamed that I have a ways to go, and to not be ashamed to incorporate the people that are following with me on my path of learning. I'm going to share 2 more thoughts with you, and then I'm going to entertain questions. So I hope that you guys have some. I don't see the Q&A box like blowing up, so you can definitely use it. Go ahead and type in it. I need to share with you more about what a campaign is, because my message, no matter what race I'm running for, is always been the same. I started in 2014, you know, way back when I called Jeremy Harris for help, and I actually ended up resigning from UH because I did win the race, which, by the way, almost every person that worked with me at UH told me not to do it. They said, Andrea, you just got a 10-year offer. You know what a 10-year is? It's just like a fancy word for you can work at UH the rest of your life. And I was 30 years old, and there was a lot of people that were very mad that I got it above other people. And I did it, and I won. And that path that I went on took me down this path of learning that would change my life forever. And that very first election in 2014, you know what my message was? People before politics. And I had to say it like that because I was a person that was very unaware of politics. I didn't know what a platform was. I barely even know what the word constituent was. I was still getting familiar with what a Democrat and a Republican was. I know this sounds very, very crazy that somebody without all that basic knowledge would run for office. But then guess what? I ran in 2016, and guess what the next theme was? It was, wait for it, we create change. And I had to help the people understand that we create this change together. And then I ran for governor, and the theme was, our time is now. And I knew that I had to use that because I needed people to hear the rally cry. I needed them to hear that now is the time that we got to rise up. No matter if I win this year or it's in a coming year, you got to stand up now, because now is the time that we have to prepare ourselves. Because when the time to perform comes, the time to prepare is past. So I had to give that rally cry. And this year, in the year of 2016, our theme is giving Hawaii hope, because we are priming that ground. We are getting the people ready for what we're about to do. And I need you to be with me on this, because campaigns are not about numbers, and they are not won in the voting booth. Guess where campaigns are won? In the hearts of the people. Campaigns are all about believing that you can do something. And I want to share this with you because I've learned so much through this journey. I learned that the enemy is not your opponent. It is the weakest link in your own organization. And that's what we've been looking through, is how we can improve ourselves in our organization. Because me as a candidate, I'm a manifestation of the people's hopes and dreams. And I have to learn what those are. And I have to prepare myself by learning from my elders, by taking my lickings when I need to, and by saying, I don't know everything, but I'm willing to learn. So I hope that you guys could feel it from me, that this for me is definitely not just a race. This is a cause that I feel so deeply inside of me that I think about it all the time, because I believe that Hawaii should live up to its full potential. I believe that if we have leaders that live up to their full potential, then we will have a state that lives up to its full potential. And I believe that the leaders of this next generation are ready to lead, and that we're going to step up and we're going to start leading this state. I believe that if I am able to step up and if I am able to lead for my generation, that I'm going to call them home. I'm going to call them home, and I'm going to tell people that I need their help now, because we need to create a Hawaii where more local families can live here for generations to come. And this is our responsibility. And we need to step up to the plate and do this. So I want to thank you guys so much for being here tonight. I want to thank you guys for hearing my message, because my message is something that I work on every day, is making sure that I have the message that the people need, not the message that I want to deliver. I need to deliver the message that the people of Hawaii need, because Hawaii needs hope right now. And this next step that I'm going to take after this, I hope you will stay with me to the end. Because like Pomai said, this is a journey. I started on it way before I even knew I was on this journey. Maybe I started way back in Venezuela when I was learning about socialism. Who knows? But it's something that is going to last. And it's something that I'm going to need your help with. And by you deciding to be here tonight with my team who makes this whole thing possible, you're starting to believe in something. And I need you to share this with your friends and family. I need you to tell other people what's going on. I need you to start to enroll people and get them on this train, so that they know that the time is now, that we should come and we should support and we should help, so that we can see the Hawaii that we want for our children. Thank you guys so much. I am going to sign off for tonight. I saw the comments in the Q&A, Ron. Thank you very, very, very much. I will look through that and I will definitely answer some of those. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, musicians. Thank you to all the people who donated prizes. I am so very, very grateful for each and every one of you.
By Queen Illegal Kalani. Because this live event is about choosing better leaders, we know Queen Illegal Kalani was a great example of being a great leader, and we hope that you'll be able to choose better leaders to have a better future.